Hello, Pirate Dave here. It is time for another Phantom Daily story. This time, Daily story number 14, Diana Aviatrix, otherwise known as Diana Aviatrix Lost. This comes from December 16th, 1940. To quickly recap the previous story, The Game of Alvar, Diana and the Phantom and Lily Palmer were on a pleasure cruise so that Lily and Phantom could get to know each other when a misunderstanding leads the Phantom to deck a man by the name of Alvar, who admittedly was trying to take advantage of Diana. Diana was curious about some crates she had seen on a wharf belonging to Mr. Alvar's company. Alvar, of course, does not take this lightly. He sets out on a case of revenge against the Phantom, orders his thugs to rough him up a little bit, and this exposes his entire scheme as a gun smuggler to the Phantom, and the Phantom's responsibility as a lawbringer to bring Alvar to justice kicks in. He uncovers a corruption wave that leads him mortally wounded. Thankfully, Diana and Good Boy Devil were there to help protect him and bring him back to good health. Phantom ends up tracking down Alvar to the ends of the earth. Alvar tries to escape to a mansion island, but the Phantom follows him all the way there. He eventually strikes fear into his heart, brings him to justice, sending Diana back to her mother in the meantime to keep her out of danger. And that's where we pick up Diana Aviatrix. Diana Aviatrix Lost is how I normally know it as. This is another JALPCC Pacific Comics Club reprinting. We have one more to go if you're not a fan of these. Pick up. Starts out with a recap of the Phantom's 400-year legacy origin story before we rejoin the Phantom. It's time we see Diana again. She's probably with her mother by now, but unfortunately, search given up in Palmer plane crash. Apparently, Diana's plane crashed when she was on her way back to her mother. This is terrible. The Phantom rushes to meet up with Uncle Dave to find out what happened. Uncle Dave, it seems like Uncle Dave has already given up Diana as being dead, but there's this really bit of dialogue he has. That's the last anybody knows. Somehow I'd hoped you were with her, because with you she'd be safe no matter what happened. But now I guess she's dead. It's actually a really touching sentiment. Uncle Dave has so much faith in the Phantom, but now knowing that the Phantom is not with Diana, he's kind of like giving her up. I'm sure he's just traumatized, but of course, the Phantom is not going to give up that easily. We actually jump back in time a bit to what happened to Diana. Diana is in the plane with this currently unnamed pilot. We'll get his name eventually. I'll try to point it out when it just sort of suddenly pops up. Unfortunately, an engine trouble causes them to crash onto the treetops of the Amazon. You know, I've heard that pilots hate flying over the Amazon more than the ocean because there's no way to really safely land a plane. But thankfully, Diane and the pilot are unharmed in landing this plane, at least for now. Watching from the thick bushes as they're trekking through the jungle, these local tribes people spot them and they start taking off on a chase into these ruins, and the ruins send the tribespeople running away. Now, why did you suppose they do that? Why are they afraid of these ruins? And right on cue, a trapdoor opens in the ruins. That's not suspicious at all. The pilot doesn't want to investigate it at all. He's just a pilot, but Diana's an adventurous sport, and she says she's going down in there. Maybe there's food. Maybe she's hungry. Pilot reluctantly, after some time, decides to follow Diana into the trapdoor, and it closes shut. We jump back forward in time to meet with the Phantom, who gets aboard a plane. Now, what is he going to do? Because all he has is a general area. That this plane landed in. He's talking to the stewardess, by the way, or the flight attendant. I'm sorry, the stewardess is not the best term these days. He's talking to the flight attendant, who is illustrated absolutely beautifully, and she actually points out where Diana's plane went off. She just knows it as a big event, a news event, and she points out, oh, it's near those ruins there. The Phantom actually asks for a parachute, and he decides he's getting off right here. And of course, the entire plane is like, "What the heck happened? Took his dog with him. His chute worked okay. Who was he? We can't ground here to get him. I'm afraid we'll never know." They're just, oh well, guy jumped from a plane in the middle of the Amazon. I guess that's that. I mean, it's not like they can land or anything like that. It's just pure jungle top. And look at the way that Ray Moore's illustrated this panel. It's absolutely detailed and gorgeous. The Phantom lands. He finds the plane in question, but of course, there's no Diana and no pilot. But he does find the local tribesmen. Now, these are tribesmen of the Central American jungle, so they have no idea who the Phantom is. And of course, the Phantom has to. They're going to learn today, I'll tell you that. The reception committee. And so the Phantom decides to do a little bit of battle. In order to obtain information, I suppose, I'll first have to establish cordial relations. So the Phantom enacts his style of diplomacy with the local tribes people. Sure enough, beating them into submission. Now that we understand each other, gentlemen, we will have a quiet talk. How are they going to talk? Do they speak the same language? Sure enough, no, they do not. They just sort of look at the Phantom, not understanding, but he uses simple sign language, and they understand that. Points at the plane. Where were they? Nobody wants to help him at first because the people ran towards a bunch of ruins that they're scared of, and so the Phantom actually makes all of them take him to the ruins, and they don't want to get too close to those places for some reason. And sure enough, this is why lights are shining out of the top of the ruins. And this has got to be absolutely scary for, underdeveloped primitive tribesmen, and an antenna sticking up out of the ruins. This is the strangest thing I've ever run into. But all mysteries have a simple explanation. Meanwhile, where's Diana? Look at that font used for the lettering. The Phantom eventually stumbles upon the same trapdoor that the pilot and Diana stumbled upon, and really no choice but to descend into it. And sure enough, the trapdoor closes behind him, and he sees bright lights down a hallway. And the Phantom, taking no chances, just lets loose. He just shoots, shoots wildly at these lights. I mean, it's a little reckless, but you know, I'm sure the implication is not that the lights are friendly. He discovers that they are arc lights. So these were the two eyes in the darkness. And hands up, don't move. Somebody's got the drop on the Phantom. That's what he thinks. Never poke a gun in a stranger's back. It's not polite. It's true. It's good advice. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy when it's the Phantom. And then he just goes back to yelling for Diana. Here she is. Drop your guns. Diana. Now, take her away. Who's this guy? So you are the Phantom. And Diana's told this guy all about the Phantom, apparently. What's going on here? This guy speaks English. He's obviously modern. Got guns. I suppose you are curious about what we're doing in the cellars of this Indian temple. That's putting it mildly. Yeah, no, this is absolutely... Before we put you to work, he's going to give him a little tour before they put him to work. That's fantastic. He shows him the radio room. That might be useful later. He shows him this class. He shows him all of this, and it shows that there's constructing an underground airplane hangar. A ramp is being built over there. Sometimes we have to dynamite away some rocks, but otherwise it's a huge temple cellars for purpose. What is going on here? We built this underground radio station in the cellars of this Indian temple because it would be the last place anyone would think to look for it. We're preparing a whole series of hangars like this when my homeland is ready to invade this hemisphere. This was the panel I was getting to. So we get this sort of ambiguous my homeland. I'm guessing this guy's German because it's the 1940s, but Lee Falk, kind of makes the diplomatic decision not to identify him. Arguably, he could be Russian, for example. Tensions were high with both of those nations during that time. So, but I imagine that he's German. And of course, he just, politely shows the Phantom around and lets him know, "You'll never get away from here, and we're gonna work you to death." The Phantom, hey, he's not really down with that plan. He just starts swinging, and of course, this guy, who's come to be known as Big, I believe is going to be his name, doesn't want the Phantom shot because he's a strong man. And he's going to help. He's going to help build this airplane hangar. "I'm Miss Palmer's pilot. She told me about you." And see, we meet the pilot again, but we don't we don't quite get his name. The Phantom gets a little bit of orientation for what's going on here from a guy who's been working his butt off for the last week. And he sees this old man, tries to give him some help, but when he does, causes the old man to get whipped by this taskmaster. And of course, Phantom's having none of that. He he knocks out the taskmaster, and he decides he's going to try to have a look around, but unfortunately, Big's forces have surrounded him. And just as he's about to shoot, because the Phantom is too much trouble, Devil comes out of nowhere. And yeah, Devil got separated from the Phantom when the Phantom went down the trapdoor, but oh, Big Big knocks out Devil there. "We're taking no more chances with you. You'll die at once." Devil, get away, Devil. Yeah, there he goes. Devil escapes, thankfully. We see Big giving his villain monologue. "You've caused enough trouble during your stay here, and in the few hours you may have left to live, you're going to regret it." And that's when Big discovers the skull mark on one of his goon's jaws, and he examines the Phantom's ring. I wanted to highlight that real quick because we get a nice clear image of the Phantom's ring there. But that's not the first time that we see the Phantom's ring. Of course, it's talked about a lot, but actually in the very first Sunday story, we see the ring with this triangular background on it with the skull on it. But in this story, it's been changed to just a straight skull. This design will pop up a bunch of times. One of my favorite iterations of it is Phantom 2040, the animated show from 1993. That's also just a skull. And of course, the 1996 movie has a more rectangular border around the skull. The Phantom skull changes drastically over the years. It is interesting that it's just such a big part of his iconography in terms of people recognizing his mark on villains, but at the same time, the ring doesn't stay consistent. Sorry for the diversion. I just thought that was interesting. So, Big comes up with an elaborate plan to kill the Phantom. He's going to lock him in a concrete room. He's going to seal him in a concrete room, in fact. And he's going to let him suffocate to death as he runs out of air. And you see they're boarding up the door here so that they can pour concrete up into there and eventually dry as hard as a rock. "This room is very small. In a few hours, there will be no more air." We get a recap to orient new readers coming onto the strip. "Can you hear him moving in there?" "No, the cement's too thick. You can't hear anything." And Diana starts, "Let him out, you horrible." I love it. She's just going to bat for the Phantom. Diana's such a wildcat. It's amazing. The Phantom's trapped. He doesn't know what he's gonna do. There's no, doesn't have actual powers. He's trapped in the middle of a room. He's running out of air. What's gonna happen? The floor starts rising up. Sealed chamber. This hole opens up. It's the man the Phantom saved earlier. He tried to help him out, give him a rest, and saved him from the Taskmaster. He leads him out through a tunnel that only the natives are actually aware of. Shake hands. I love this little friendship because they can't understand each other. They don't speak the same language. All he knows is the kindness of this man, and they're distrustful of white men because of what these white men are enslaving them to do. And here comes this white man who's helping him out. Of course, the racial tensions are not completely altruistic with these sort of strips, but I like it. So, meanwhile, Big is on the hunt for the wolf that attacked him earlier, not knowing that the Phantom has escaped. And Devil, get away, Devil. And Devil scrambles underneath a bush, and he smells something off in the air, and he finds his master. Been trying to shoot you, have they, old fellow? We'll take care of them. And the Phantom takes out one of the guards. Remember, we saw Big discover the mark and understand what it was and its association. Huh? What happened? Hoon, the death's head on his jaw. And Jew, the death's head again. The mark of the Phantom. But he's sealed behind concrete in the rock room. And as far as Big knows, he's supposed to be dying in this room. And so the Phantom scrambles back into the room through the tunnels up into the stone thing. He puts the stone back into the place. Meanwhile, Big has one of his goons pickaxe a hole into the concrete. They look in. They see the Phantom's lying there, motionless, apparently dead, not knowing what's going to happen. And Big runs in sudden terror, followed by his men. They are spooked. They just found somebody outside, knocked out with this mark. Meanwhile, the Phantom's in there. He's supposed to be dead. This guy's being left to guard him. He's just completely scared out of his wits. Big goes to interrogate Diana to discover the nature of the mark, and Diana confirms that that's his mark. Yet only 15 minutes ago, this man was slugged in the woods and has the marks upon his jaw. How can this be? And she plays into the mythology. They call him the ghost who walks. They say that he is immortal. And they decide, well, we're going to test to see if he is immortal. We're going to stick an arm through the hole. We're going to just fire a couple of bullets right into his body. The Phantom, hearing this plan, jumps up and he grabs the guy's arm. It's got me. That has to be absolutely frightening for this man, because he can't see anything, just feels something has his arm. The Phantom ties a loose board around the arm to keep him in place. And meanwhile, he scrambles back underneath the loose stone on the floor. It takes some time, but they break loose of the board, and they look in, and it's empty. As far as they know, there's no way out of this room. They don't know how the Phantom's escaping. So, as far as they're concerned, he just walked through a wall. It's incredible. And they decide to tear down the whole room and investigate it further, but they don't find. They're standing right over it, but they don't find the loose stone in the floor. And Big is just scared out of his wits. And this is where the Phantom really leans into his mythology. And the Phantom sneaks back into the base. How do you figure this Phantom? I can't. If I never see him again, I won't kick. It's right above him. Got him. Oh, I love that. Perfect timing, Ghost Who Walks. So the Phantom's trying to make it to the radio room so that he can call in reinforcements. Sure enough, he does, and he only gets one chance of this. And it looks like this is where we confirm where we're getting, because we just got a sort of ambiguous Central American jungle, but Panama Canal HQ, calling Panama Canal HQ. So it'll be the jungles of Panama. The Phantom relays the location, and he only gets one shot at it because the radio operator, he's here. He's here. The Phantom is here. And sends the men all running back towards the radio room. Meanwhile, the pilot, hope he gets away. Wonder where he is. And the Phantom's already made it out of the radio room. He's made it to the pilot there. And he's going to be enlisting his help. He's lets the pilot know to be ready and to take care of Diana when the fighting starts. The Phantom will be too busy. He'll be too preoccupied with taking out forces to make sure Diana's okay. And I mean, it's tragic, right? But he has this bigger responsibility to protect everyone. But thankfully, he has this resource in the pilot to help him out. The Phantom makes his escape. He's no man. He's a battalion. Meanwhile, he starts talking a big game. He came up behind me and grabbed me, Big. What could I do? What could you do? What would I have done? Slugged him. Yeah, right, Big. Yeah, sure. So Big's talking this big message, but this thug says, "Maybe you little Big. He left a message for you. Big, I'm coming back for you." I mean, Big's scared. He's putting up a front, but he is scared out of his wits. So he decides to keep Diana Palmer near him and use her as leverage against Diana. Meanwhile, the Phantom, to get even more reinforcements, meets back up with the tribes people, and he tries to speak to them in the sign language that he can to tell him what he needs. And the tribes people start attacking him, and that's when his friend comes back up. "This is our friend. He saved me from the death in the temple cellars. We will help him." "No, no, not this temple." And this guy just starts giving off this great hero speech. "There is no beast beneath the temple. There are only bad white men who capture us and force us to work for them until they die." And he rallies the rest of the tribe's people to help out the Phantom, and the Phantom has his reinforcements. The Phantom wants to divide groups into clearing the jungle so that planes, the Panama HQ planes, can land. And the warriors are not happy with it. The wild men scowl at this. They are eager to fight, but work is another matter. But the old man comes back. "Idlers, you are more afraid to work than to die. Do as your leader commands." He whips them into shape, and they start clearing down some jungle there. And the Big's forces can see all this. They're confused by it, but there's not much they can do. Meanwhile, the Phantom's already got the pilot in place, and this is where we get his name, right? Here we go. Sorry, that's out of focus. I'm sorry. This is where we get Pete's name. He gives orders to Pete, Diana's pilot. So this is Pete, this MVP inside track that the Phantom has in the base there. And he gets everybody into position, infiltrates into the base, and they start rushing in, and the fight is on. The Phantom's knocking out these forces left and right. Meanwhile, Pete's getting ready to do his part. "This is the blow off, all right? Now to find Diana, like he told me to." And Big's taking off with Diana. Pete's on their trail, and he jumps up. What a hero, man. But Big throws him off. Big's a big guy, and oh no! He shoots Pete. "You shot him in cold blood, you loathsome. Save that fancy talk. Nobody can hear you. We're leaving." Meanwhile, the planes from Panama HQ are en route. "Don't know how we're going to land. Not enough room for a mosquito to make a decent landing down there." And the Phantom still has to communicate with the airplanes to get them to land. And he makes it to the radio room. "Follow clearing to the edge of the ruins, then taxi down underground. Plenty of room." Meanwhile, Big is making off with Diana in a speedboat there. You see the. And the tribe's people have overwhelmed the forces. "We quit! We quit!" And the planes have landed safely in the hangar. "Who are you? I talked to you by radio." "Whoa, what's been going down here? Oh?" I love how these guys just show up at the last minute and just start, expressing how impressed they are. And as the battle is over, the tribespeople start a victory dance, and with torches, dancing. Uh, the Phantom at first doesn't really pay it any mind. He doesn't think it's dangerous at all, but they are dancing dangerously close to dynamite. Surely everything's going to be okay, though. Meanwhile, the Phantom discovers Pete. "Pete, where's Diana?" "I don't know." And sure enough, the tribespeople drop some fire onto the dynamite. The Phantom, hearing that Diana is missing, goes racing off into the tunnels to find her. And that's when the Panama HQ forces discover the dynamite's on fire. And Phantom tells them, "Get your planes, get out of here. The dynamite is on fire. It may go off at a minute." But he's got to get Diana. He's got to find Diana. So he rushes into the base to find out what happened to Diana. Meanwhile, a bunch of the tribes people have escaped Diana's taking off with Big. As far as the Phantom knows, though, Diana's somewhere still inside of the base. And some of the tribes people that were enslaved by Big, they know what dynamite means. They're not just ignorant. They've been they've been working in this space long enough to know that it's dangerous. And they're getting in the Phantom's way, trying to tell him that he can't stay. They've got to leave, and Phantom doesn't want to leave, so they all tackle him and they drag him out of the base to save his life. The Phantom's kicking and screaming, and boom! The base blows up. Look at that crater. And as far as the Phantom knows, Diana Palmer is dead. The local tribespeople are rejoicing. Meanwhile, the Phantom's heartbroken, man. But Diana's not dead. Big and Diana are escaping. Big stops for a bit to cook some dinner. And this is going to be his downfall, of course. Phantom doesn't want to play with Devil. Devil senses his master is heartbroken, tries to cheer him up, and so Devil takes off by himself, gets some water. And that's when Devil smells something. The scent of somebody he likes, whom his master likes. Diana's handkerchief. He's found Diana's scent and he races back to his master. Woof, woof. Run along, Devil. Go and play in the woods. I don't feel like going with you. And Devil's excited. What's gotten into you, Devil? Will you leave me in peace, you shaggy nuisance? So eventually, the Phantom decides to follow Devil and Diana's handkerchief. And the Phantom realizes Diana escaped the base. Diana tracks it. This, you see, Devil didn't get he didn't get risen into the air in a kiss, but he gets a nice little lift in the air, and I'm gonna assume we don't see the kiss, but I'm gonna assume the Phantom kisses him because he's a good boy. And so the Phantom investigates. He discovers oil on the sand, realizes that they're in a motorboat, decides to borrow a canoe from the local tribes people. And as he's rowing along the river, a plane lands in the water, and it's Pete. Pete's still a little wobbly, but he's okay despite the gunshot. To meet up. Unfortunately, the Phantom and Pete follow the winding stream coastward, searching for Big's motorboat, and they're going to catch up with Big and Diana. Sure enough, Big is in his motorboat. A plane! He's following us! I know it's him! I know it! And so Big spots the plane, and he just assumes the Phantom's up there, but he's not wrong. And unfortunately, there's nowhere for the plane to land. Oh no, wait! It just says no sign of them yet. I'm sorry. So Big's just thankful that they didn't get spotted, and so spotting a big lake so that they can land safely, decide to head towards that way. Meanwhile, Diana, realizing that she has to make sure they don't get too far away, she kicks up the fire that Big is using to cook his meal and starts a roaring fire in the jungle. And this causes the plane, of course, to see the fire. And the Phantom's gonna parachute down into the flames. Land on that lake downstream and wait for us. Look at that shot. The Phantom just diving into flames. And of course, there's a reason why you don't do that. Sparks carried aloft by the wind ignite the parachute. It flares like a torch in the dark sky. Oh boy. And Big, he's got his bead on the Phantom, so he decides to take some pot shots at him. Meanwhile, the Phantom cuts his line and he falls into the ground. The Phantom ends his 100-foot fall from the flaming parachute into the deep stream. And he's just floating on the water. But Big is not convinced. He's still alive. I know it. I'll finish him. Hurry up before he comes to. Decide to row out into the lake to make sure to double tap the Phantom, apparently. And that's when Diana tackles Big. Look at her. She's a fighter. And they go overboard into the river. Diana and Big get separated, and Phantom dives down into the water to save Diana, and they surface underneath the boat. So Big doesn't know where they are. They're underneath the overturned boat there. Big thinks that the Phantom's just waiting underneath the water, and the Phantom and Diana reunited. It's what a romantic image, but they don't have any time to celebrate because the Phantom has to take care of Big. And so coming out from underneath the boat, he's on the other side of the boat, but he's lost his guns. So he grabs a piece of driftwood and convinces Big that he's got a gun. He's got the drop on him, and that's enough to scare off Big and run him away. And the Phantom and Diana have a moment of respite. But that was close. I'm going after Big now. I want you to. No, darling, you haven't any guns. He's armed. Big is meanwhile on the run away from the Phantom. We get a little bit of a catch up here, a little 4-panel catch up. Diana really does not want the Phantom to go after Big. The Phantom doesn't have any guns, and he's also got a bum leg. His leg was burned a little bit, and that's when Phantom realizes that Diana's arms are also burned a little bit from the fire, so he helps her out by soaking some bandages in tea and applying them to the burns. I don't know if that would actually work, but that's an interesting bit of survival trivia. So maybe if you're in this situation, you have some tea. There you go. Apparently, Big was a big tea drinker and brought some along with him. Phantom pushes Diana into the boat and sends her downriver. Diana uses a stick to make the journey a little bit faster and finds the plane, catches up with Pete, and convinces Pete that they need to help. They need to help the Phantom. Pete is like, you're burned. You need a hospital. I need a hospital. I've been shot. We've got to go. So they take off into the sky, but Diana doesn't want to leave the Phantom all alone. So she sends Devil out into the plane. And I skipped over this panel, but this is really great. Devil, darling Devil. I just love the interactions these two have. It's so cute. Devil takes off through the water. Meanwhile, slowly the Phantom crawls upstream as he searches for Big and passes beyond the fire line of the burning woods. Ahead, Big has given up flight. He waits, poised and ready. Phantom realizes if he shows himself, Big will just shoot him. He can't do much, can't rush him with the bum leg. So he's got to play this a little bit smart. And he crawls to a good point where he can defend himself, and he yells, Big, here I am. I'm unarmed and can't stand up. I dare you to come and get me. Big does not believe the Phantom. Ironically, the Phantom is completely telling the truth. Meanwhile, plane flies overhead. They fly low, going back upstream until they reach the scene of action. And they actually get to watch this confrontation between Big and the Phantom. This is incredible. So Big gets close enough, realizing the Phantom might be telling the truth. The Phantom grabs a rock nearby, he throws it at, and he disarms Big. He's just as accurate with throwing a rock as he is with his guns. Get away from there. The Phantom hurls a stone, knocking Big's gun from his hand. Frantically, Big tries to pick up his gun. That's when Devil shows up. Devil, old fella, you didn't desert me, did you? After him, bring him back, boy. And Devil rounds up Big and herds him back towards the Phantom. It's going to be a fair fight to the death. In this ring of fire, the jungle is still burning. Diana is watching from above. Now I'll kill you with my bare hands. And they start scrapping. They start wrestling. At that moment, a tall burning tree topples over. The figures are hidden, and now Diana and Pete can't see anything. Look at this. Big and the Phantom are just wrestling in the middle of this river, going back and forth, and the Phantom overtakes Big, and the epic battle is over. Big is left motionless over a rock. So the Phantom decides to take him into justice. You see Big here. I guess Big is just given up completely. He's realized the Phantom has whooped his butt, He's not gonna get any better at it. Meanwhile, uh, the last thing Diana and Pete saw was that tree toppling over in the fire. They lost sight of the Phantom and Big. So as far as they know, um, him and Pete are talking about. Pete, do you think he had a chance? No, I'm sorry. We have to face it. Caught underneath that burning tree with a broken leg. And Diana thinks the Phantom is dead once again. Meanwhile, the Phantom is not dead. He brings Big back to face justice, locks him up, but his leg is still bum. The army wants to pin a medal on you for bringing Big in. No medals. All I want is rest. Diana, you're sure she's all right? Hardly. She left the hospital too soon and thinking you're dead. Diana has taken off, thinking that the Phantom is dead. Meanwhile, the army wants to get information out of Big for where the other hangars are that they're building. They bring the Phantom into, and all the Phantom does is open the cell. No, don't let him in here. I'll tell you everything you want to know, but keep him away from me. And so Big points out all the locations of the hangars. The forces mop up the hidden bases, and the Phantom has saved the day once again. Sorry, let's skipped a couple pages here. So the Phantom decides to go back to try to look for Diana. As far as he knows, Diana doesn't know her. Diana, in a remote resort in the Rockies, Diana has found solitude, a place to rest and forget. I guess I should have written Mother where I am, but I can't bear the thought of seeing anyone for a while. She is heartbroken. She thinks the Phantom's dead. The Phantom thought she was dead again. Another misconnection. It's been a while since we had those, right? So the Phantom meets up with Lily, and of course, as we just learned, Lily doesn't know where Diana is. But apparently, a little man has been coming by, haunting Lily Palmer. And you can see there's the little man right there looking up, looking up in the windows. There he is, the little dark man. I don't see anyone, Mrs. Palmer. He was just there, I tell you, just looking at me. Someone knocking at the door. Maybe it's a telegram from Dana. Eek! It's a little dark man. There's no one here, Mrs. Palmer. What is this little guy that's haunting Lily Palmer? Meanwhile, back with Diana, she decides she's gonna go home. She's gonna start to move on with her life. It's it's a little silly, right? It's trying to move the story along to get them back together, but she wouldn't get over the Phantom that easily, right? So Lily's still seeing this little guy wandering around her house. Oh, the Phantom. He's taking a walk outside. Meanwhile, there's that little guy creeping up on him. As the Phantom walks, his sharp ears catch a faint sound from the bushes. Well, Mogi, so it's you. You're a long way. Apparently, Phantom knows this little guy. Greetings, O ghost who walks. My mistake, Miss Palmer. This is the little man you saw. It's Lily isn't being haunted by this little man. That's cleared up. Meanwhile, the Diana's landed back in America. She's about to come home. Diana, darling, why didn't you tell me you were coming home? You look marvelous. He left just a few minutes ago. He? Yes, he and the devil and that little Diana. And Diana just realizes the Phantom's alive and she rushes out. A tall man and a little man just left this building. Where did they go? They took a cab, Miss Palmer. There it is, by that stoplight. It's in traffic and you see them through the back window. And apparently something's happened back in Bengala. This guy's come out to find the Phantom. Diana rushes to the cab. Oh no, she's going to miss the Phantom again, isn't she? Oh, it's going to be another misconnection. This is terrible. But wait, driver, stop. Diana. The driver of the cab swerving out to pass another auto, does not see Diana in time. Oh no! The driver of the cab speeding to pass another car. Diana's getting hit. Diana! And the Phantom sweeps Diana into the air. In the split second that remains, there is no time to avoid the oncoming collision. And they collapse on the hood embracing each other. It's not another misconnection. They reunite right there on top of that car in the middle of traffic. Look at that. Do you mind going someplace else? I'm in a hurry. Get out of the street. You're blocking traffic for 5 blocks. You go to work. 1 hour only. 1 hour. So they gotta wrap it up, guys. Diana, the fan reunite. It's a very touching moment. They head back to Lily Palmer's. Meanwhile, a little guy knocking on the door there, and sure enough, you again. Lily slams the door on that little guy. But sure enough, they reunite with Lily, and everything is right there together again. But oh no, it's hard to be parted so soon again, Diana, but I must go away. Go away? When? At once. Mogi has come halfway across the world to find me. He has brought bad news, isn't that so, Mogi? Yeah, apparently the Phantom's treasure has been stolen. The treasure of the Phantom, the ancient treasure that exists in Skull Cave, collected by his ancestors for the last 400 years. The treasure that is full of valuable, priceless artifacts, and that really, to be candid, funds the fight against greed, cruelty, and injustice for the line of the Phantoms, has been taken. How is that possible? And who could have done it? Who would have done it? Who knew about it? It's quite a mystery. Phantom and Diana, of course, they love each other. Of course, they just realized that both were alive, but they have to part ways again. Phantom gives Diana one last goodbye kiss and leaves Diana in America. Beginning next week, The Phantom's Treasure. That's not what we'll be beginning next week, of course, because we'll be going back to a Sunday story. But hopefully you enjoyed Diana Aviatrix Lost. It's a really sprawling, epic story. I did try to wrap it up as much as possible, but I think there were a few diversions there with a few details that maybe you didn't need to know. But it's a fun one, right? It's creeping into a wartime story, and it is that, it's that era of world history. It's the end of 1940s. America's about to enter into the skirmish there, enter into the fray. The fray, I should say, skirmish. It was a world war. It was the greatest world war of all time. Sorry, I didn't mean to minimize it. So we'll be seeing a story akin to that just after the Phantom's Treasure, just to give a little bit of way. In fact, and it might actually be the Phantom's Treasure itself. I don't remember exactly. Which it's called. The Phantom Goes to War. Just to give it away. I'm sure everybody would have imagined that. But yeah, this story is very, very interesting. I think Big is really he's a really impressive antagonist. He's very topical, of course, being this foreign military and hulking man, and he has really great moments for fighting against the Phantom. And there was that little moment of personalization where he starts talking this big game and what he would do if he were fighting the Phantom. I don't think that goes on long enough. I don't think they keep it up long enough, but it is nice that it's there. And of course, the touching moments between Diana and the Phantom are also nice. It's very curious that it's such a crazy premise for a story that the Phantom suddenly realizes Diana is missing. It would be a very emotional situation. But meanwhile, from Diana's point of view, we get kind of this little fun adventure for a couple pages before she is kidnapped or taken prisoner by Big. As for the premise itself, the secret hangar in the jungles of Panama, this remote area where there's nowhere to land in 100 miles, it does make you think, how did the forces get there in the first place? But the actual scheme itself, where they're imprisoning anybody that comes along, imprisoning local tribes people, it's really heartbreaking. It gives those moments where the Phantom can come along and be that guy who is this greater moral center, and to show that not all people are bad, and somebody that frees those people and helps them rise against this military force that's building a base so that they can infiltrate North America more easily in the coming years. And I mean, the implications of all that are just, they just indicate all roads are eventually going to lead to this world war. Even though, again, at this point, America was not a part of the war. Uh, I think that, I think it was going to be a foregone conclusion. And to get a little bit of way, Lee Falk, just like many other people, he enlisted. He was, I believe, he enlisted, or he may have been drafted. I'm not sure. He participated. He joined the war effort. So during that time, we'll see if there's a little bit of a change. But let's not put the cart before the horse. In the meantime, we are going to be doing Sunday Story number 5 next week. We're returning to the Sunday Stories, the colorized versions. Uh, I imagine some people enjoy that. If if anybody even made it to this 45-minute epic for this particular story, I thank you. I hope you enjoyed the time. Hopefully, you join me next week for a Sunday story. They tend to go a little bit shorter. Thanks. Bye.